Thank you, colleagues. Join me in receiving the portrait of our leader. For freedom. All for freedom. Freedom for all. Freedom for all. All for freedom. Thank you. You can resume your seats. Colleagues, in your respective capacities, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, this morning we have had the opportunity of gathering here in a rather somber mood to commemorate 1 year of incarceration. I have it's better. Here at TFF here, where the board has come over here. Yes, the reason. As you all know, Dr. Besigye is our leader and heads SEPS, the Council of Eminent Persons, and Hajji Obedi Lutale is a full-fledged member of that committee. 16th of November will always be a day of infamy in the records of not only Katonga here, not only PFF, but the entire country. The harrowing story of what transpired to Dr. Kizza Besigye and Obedi Lutale on that fateful day remain vivid in your minds, all of us, and in our records. It came as a fool's day story. Dr. Besigye had been whisked away from Riverside apartment in Nairobi. The news started trickling in, rather in a very, very informal way. It was never a headline in Nairobi, nor here, until Wednesday the following week, when it featured in the headlines of our dailies here. The state here had kept quiet about it, no official statement, and also our brothers across the border, Kenya, They never issued an official statement about it. On receiving that disturbing news, you recall how we mounted a search. It was like a wild goose chase. We moved in the wilderness, not knowing where to start from, without any clue as to their whereabouts, until finally we established they had been kept somewhere in a military facility for 3 nights. And subsequently, as you know, they were formally arraigned before the General Court Martial. You recall we again assembled here, prepared the protesting note, which we sought to deliver to the Kenyan High Commission. And we were rudely interrupted. Many of our leaders were dehumanized, brutalized, arrested, and of course, charged on very, very hopeless charges, counts of being a nuisance. You can imagine leaders of great repute being subjected to those kind of dehumanizing charges. That was an insult to us. So that's exactly what happened. Now, before I go ahead to recount the harrowing experience we have gone through, you need to understand the reason why Dr. Kizza Besigye and Obedi Lutale were kidnapped. You need to get the reasons. In the first place, we have it on good record that the mission was to eliminate, to assassinate Dr. Kizza Besigye. We have it on good record, on good authority. No doubt about it. It was never the intention of this regime to arrest Dr. Besigye. Of course, they don't even have powers of arrest. And it's not also true that it's the Kenyan authorities that arrested Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale. No. If anything, actually, it is the elements from within Kampala here who crossed the borders illegally, effected the kidnap. Of course, the Kenyan government abated that crime. They were just giving a cover-up. And subsequently, transferred Dr. Kizza Besigye, Obedi Lutale, through the border point at Busia by road and without going through the immigration protocols up until they were brought here. But the mission was to assassinate Dr. Besigye. It's the reason we are extremely grateful to the Almighty God for having saved Dr. Kizza Besigye's life. The mission was foiled by divine intervention. So it's by the grace of the Lord that Dr. Besigye is still alive today. And we have every reason to celebrate that fact that Dr. Besigye is alive. Because Mr. Museveni and his son and all the lieutenants within this regime had passed a judgment which was only awaiting execution, that Dr. Besigye should be eliminated. Why was Besigye, why was he going to face that kind of treatment? You know, this regime has been speaking through the CDF, who actually made a proclamation that even after the kidnap, and after they recognized that actually they were in custody of Dr. Kizza Besigye, rather they had kept custody of Dr. Kizza Besigye, sorry, said they were going to execute him on Heroes Day, 9th June. They had identified the tree in Iguru, which they had preserved, and they're just waiting for that moment to have him tied on the tree and subjected to firing squad. Reason, you know, Dr. Besigye is a political juggernaut, whether they like it or not. You know, Kolos as a person who is the anchor of the struggle in this country. Mr. Museveni knows how indomitable Dr. Besigye is when it comes to fighting dictatorship. He knows. So they have tried everything possible to crush that spirit in vain. The kind of trumped up charges they have subjected him to, the torture, brutalization, dehumanization, and then they reached a point of saying, no, he must be eliminated. Museveni is building a dynasty, no doubt about it. And Dr. Besigye has been championing the transition agenda. And Museveni's agenda is succession agenda. So that is the debate, the issue. Do we have a transition, from the military rule to a civilian rule? That is the crux of the matter, the battle Dr. Besigye and all of us are spearheading. A transition from gun rule, a transition from family rule, a transition from a dynasty to a truly democratic dispensation where the will and sovereign authority of the people reign supreme. On several occasions, Dr. Besigye has put it on record that the sovereign authority right now resides in Mr. Museveni, not in the people of Uganda. And a dynasty thrives on that doctrine of the sovereign authority residing in a person, in a cult. That is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And he wants to pass on the mantle to his son, either after death, to have it bequeathed to General Muhoozi, or when he's tired, like Kamuzu Banda and others. Of course, what is happening in Cameroon is well known to all and sundry. So Dr. Besigye, with his determination, resolve, and charisma to fight the succession agenda, has been the reason Mr. Museveni and his team, his family, wanted him eliminated. And as I've said, it's only God that foiled that nefarious agenda of Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. As we commemorate 1 year, as I've said, of course, we commiserate, no doubt about that. But at the same time, we celebrate that reality. Doctor is still with us. Now, turning to the issue of the harrowing experience I talked about, you know the ordeal we went through. First of all, God willing, Doctor will have time to recount the ordeal they went through from the time of arrest, kidnap rather, or abduction, up to the time when he regains his freedom. I'm sure that moment will come. But he has had occasion to share with us some facts, the way he was treated. And even myself, when I visited Nairobi to collect his luggage from the hotel where it had been kept, you had whispers from the security personnel and whatnot. And of course, human rights organizations in Kenya, ICJ, Paru, and others who came to our assistance. It's a terrible story. But what we need to restate here is what we have all been witnessing right from the time he was arraigned before the General Court Martial. You remember that those awful incidents we had at the General Court Martial, what we had to go through, to the extent that on the 7th day of January, one of us, Counsel Kizza, was grabbed. You remember how those mean-looking, military personnel pounced on him. Those who used to mask themselves for fear of identification pounced on him, tortured him to almost a point of death, and subsequently detained. We had to put up or to mount a spirited fight, and we made a proclamation here that now, for us who are outside, our mission was to dismantle the General Court Martial. You remember, in our New Year statement here in January, we said, now we are going to fight and have the General Court Martial dismantled. I'm glad we lived up to that promise. We fought the General Court Martial. Because what was happening was just a perfunctory trial. The assignment of Freeman Mugabe was just to take Dr. Besigye through the process as a matter of course and have him executed on 9th of June. That was the agenda. So we had to put up a spirited fight against the Freeman-headed General Court Martial, and we brought it down. We got a judgment on the 31st day of January in the Supreme Court. And again, we had to go into another phase of, again, a protracted battle to have these matters transferred from that kangaroo court to what we thought would be a better environment, which is ostensibly meant to deal with the civilians. That is the civilian courts. It was another battle altogether. From the 31st day of January up to the 21st day of February, Dr. Besigye remained incarcerated without a remand warrant. Can you imagine? And under the Prisons Act, no one should be on remand in any gazetted prison, without a valid remand warrant. But he remained there, and they remained there with Obedi. So we had to put up again another fight, and Dr. Besigye had to go on a hunger strike, which he also nearly claimed his life. We'll never forget that moment when Dr. Besigye was brought before Justice Douglas Kizza upon our application for his temporary relief. You know, we wanted, reprieve. We wanted that temporary relief from Justice Douglas Kizza on that account of failing health of Dr. Kizza Besigye. He was good to us and said, okay, fine. Let me issue an order to have him produced. And he was produced. But we got a shock of our life when Justice Douglas Kizza looked at him and said, hey. He's in a terrible, terrible health situation. Take him back to Luzira lest he dies in my court. It was quite disturbing. You have a prisoner in your hands, incarcerated illegally, he's on the brink of death. Instead of directing the authorities to take him to the hospital in an ambulance, you put him in a prison's truck back to prison. And subsequently, those people realized that actually Doctor's health was in danger. Parliament convened, they sent there a committee. Myself, it was the first opportunity to visit the actual cell in the upper prison where Dr. Besigye is sleeping. That was my first time, because now this time I got an opportunity to accompany the Committee of Parliament Human Rights Committee, headed by Fox Odoye. I don't know whether he's still the head. So we went there. They all witnessed what was happening. Surprisingly again, when they came back to Parliament, there was no remedy. No orders as to medication, whatever, nothing. So when they visited, they looked at Dr. Besigye was just there, literally, on his deathbed. But they were all helpless, never offered a solution. Until finally he was almost dying, that he was transferred to a facility in Bugorobi, private facility. where he got some treatment, and finally they succumbed to that pressure and transferred Dr. Besigye to the civilian court on the 21st of February, and then the hunger strike was called off. The other thing, which is a key highlight of what we have gone through, are the multiple applications we have filed to get bail, as provided for under our constitutional framework. There are bail applications which are anchored on the discretion of court, but there is one which is mandatory. The first one we filed was before Justice Comfort Kanya. You recall how she surprised the entire country. Said, oh, I've seen the securities, they are all substantial. And the record of Dr. Besigye is well known. He's a citizen, a senior citizen for that matter, who will never abscond from the jurisdiction of court. And indeed, actually, had been subjected to similar charges, including rape, treason, terrorism, which are all grave offenses. But he never absconded and said he's a man of good record. He has a permanent residence. He's well known. But again, she brazenly told the world that I will not grant Dr. Besigye bail, despite the fact that he had satisfied all the requirements. And that's how it ended. We never tired from the fight, the efforts to push for his release. So he put in another application. This time around, it was allocated to Justice Issa Serunkuma. But on the day of the hearing, we got a surprise of our life when we found the files before Justice Emmanuel Baguma. And we asked, how did this happen? That, Justice Issa Serunkuma said, they had told him to back off the case. And they had brought Justice Emmanuel Baguma now, probably now, to replace Freeman Mugabe. Indeed, Baguma has treated the civilian court. Indeed, Baguma Emmanuel has treated this civilian court at high court more or less like a general court martial. In some cases, even worse than Freeman Mugabe. In some cases. The least you would expect from a civilian court is to do the things, the horrible things Justice Baguma has done, including denying Dr. Besigye mandatory bail, which is a command of the Constitution under Article 23. With such outrageous and preposterous reasoning that Dr. Besigye's remand period while under the general court martial does not count. If you ask Justice Baguma today, has Dr. Besigye spent a year in jail? He will say no. According to his calculation and the mathematics he has conducted, it's not yet a year. But by that time, Dr. Besigye had spent more than 8 months on remand. And Justice Baguma said no. So he denied him mandatory bail. And many other applications we have filed, which you have also been following, recusal, transfer of the files to the Constitutional Court, all have been thrown out without any justifiable reason. It is also on record, we filed a matter before the East African Court of Justice. Unfortunately, the machinations from this regime have frustrated all the efforts of having the same fixed for hearing. Their maneuvers have gone beyond borders, and now the application, the matter before the East African Court of Justice is also shelved. Liaising with our team in Nairobi, of course headed by Martha Karua, who is heading both the team here and Kenya, we filed another matter against the government of Kenya in the High Court at Kilimani in Kenya. Yes, it came up for conferencing. Again, unfortunately, for one reason or another, it was adjourned to Feb next year. That's how frustrating the legal battle has been to us. In a nutshell, for this 1 year, Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale have been on remand or in prison. There isn't even a single court order we have received in our favor. Not one. Not even a single intervention from any of the agencies charged with observance and protection of human rights, like the Uganda Human Rights Commission, Parliament, or any other agents, whether state or non-state agents. Nothing that we have received. Nothing has come to the rescue of Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale. So that paints to you the picture that this country is under state capture. All these institutions, rather, under state capture. That gives you that picture. And in essence, it means the constitutional order created by the current constitutional document has since been overthrown. This is a confirmation, a further confirmation of what we have always told the country, that we no longer have a constitutional order. All we have is a constitutional document which has been relegated to a mere paper tiger. But we have no constitutional order. And this is one thing we need to deal with. Now, this brings us to the way forward. Because we told you, we shall recount you the experience of what we have gone through. Of course, we have not explained the void Dr. Besigye has left, the absence of Dr. Besigye has caused to the political scene of this country. And I think we need to address that. The void is felt by all of you, by all actors, across the political divide. The absence of Dr. Besigye from the political scene, the political colossus I've talked about, the political juggernaut I've talked about, is felt by all and sundry. I think every now and again, the question lingering on your mind when you witness political events unfolding, the question lingering on your mind, all of you, what would Besigye do? If there is any question that would weigh heavy on your mind, what would Besigye do under such circumstances? And that is a serious question we need to answer. Those of us who have interacted with him on several occasions at Luzira, these issues are weighing heavy on his mind. Now, this is the way forward. Number one, as the leadership of PFF at Katonga here, we have decided to declare a Besigye prayer week starting from today, with a call to all of you peace-loving Ugandans, not only members of PFF, but all peace-loving Ugandans. In all your prayers, private and public, to have Dr. Besigye at heart. Of course, with all the political prisoners. And in this prayer week, we ask all of you kindly during this prayer week. We know this is a political season. I mean, a politically charged season. We are all in campaigns. At all our campaign rallies, campaign meetings, campaign activities, we start the proceedings with a prayer for Dr. Kizza Besigye and all political prisoners. This request is not only to our candidates, but to all comrades in various political formations who are seeking for regime change. Related to that is the call to all of us, all of you, the candidates, starting with ourselves, the candidates. We prioritize the issue of freeing the political prisoners in all our campaigns. It should be at the forefront. It should be central in our message. Should be so central. It should be the captivating issue at hand. Because everything that we do starts with our freedom. We are all endangered. In the summary of the case, in this matter of Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale, which was presented before Her Worship Nantege, Christian in Nakawa, and subsequently filed in the High Court. My brother, the Honorable Ssemujju Nganda, Salam Musumba, and I were listed as accomplices. Don't forget that. And they indicated that, look, in all the meetings in Geneva, Greece, Nairobi, the person of Ssemujju Nganda, Salam Musumba, Lukwaga, and others featured prominently. Maybe they are putting us on the radar, monitoring what we are doing, and anytime they can pounce on us. The Kisumu 36, where are you? Any of the Kisumu 36? You know what transpired? Do you recall the date when we were kidnapped from Kisumu? Yes? 24th, 23rd July? Can you forget that day? Anyway, you recall they started with our 36 Kisumu prisoners, captives, who were picked almost in the same fashion from their hotels, illegally renditioned, and arraigned before. Actually, before even they were charged, they were paraded at Kololo as terrorists. And they forced Samuel Makoha to address the press on behalf of the rest. Subsequently, we had to battle that matter, and they failed to bring evidence. Now, we are all endangered. So the call to all of us, please, it's a battle of our life. There are two Kenyans who are kidnapped from here, kept for close to 2 months. And Mr. Museveni had the qualms of telling the nation that these people are experts in demonstrations, mandamano. It's the reason they had been kept away in a fridge. And subsequently dumped at the border point in Busia. Go back. Without following the due process, without a deportation order, without an extradition order, and that's how it happened. So it's incumbent upon all of us, ladies and gentlemen, to fight a battle of our life to free ourselves. So in all our campaigns, and all the presidential candidates who are seeking for change, it's a call to all of us. We appreciate what happened in Rukunjiri because the message was loud and clear. Free Besigye, free Besigye, free Besigye. That should reverberate throughout the campaign programs we are having. We ask that it shouldn't be a one-off, and we are asking that all of us, that should be the catchphrase, not only Besigye, but every political prisoner whom you know, and those who have disappeared. There are those in gazetted prisons. There are no activists who are in Ruzira, sharing the same jail with Dr. Besigye. There are those now kept away in ungazetted facilities, like the Kenyans explained, over 500, including Kayindo Tafire's brother, or relative for that matter, and some Mugumya. Up to now, we have gotten a number of habeas corpus orders, but in vain. So up to now, some Mugumya is just kept somewhere in the basement without being brought before court. So we need to collectively deal with this. So this call is not restricted only to candidates, but the entire citizenry, Ugandans, in your various capacities. This is a clarion call. It's a command under Article 3 of the Constitution that we should rise to the occasion. So we demand that we extricate ourselves from the bond or the bondage where we are kept, or the shackles rather. We have to extricate ourselves from the shackles of tyranny and brutality. That is number 2. Number 3, you are aware that for the last 1 year of incarceration of Dr. Besigye and Obedi Lutale, the matter has not been heard on merit. Can you imagine? The state claims that they are still gathering evidence. Even by the time of committal, you remember the committal proceedings before before her worship Christine. It was 29th May. They had justified an application to access data on Dr. Besigye's phone. And that application is still pending before the magistrate court in Nakao. Meaning, actually, that they are still gathering evidence against Dr. Kizza Besigye. They made futile attempts to implicate Dr. Besigye in the court of public opinion by saturating those, whatever, choreographed, whatever, whether by AI or whatever, we don't know, we are yet to verify, so that they have Dr. Besigye convicted in the court of public opinion. And the likes of Andrew Mwenda, we are hyping on that too much. This Besigye. So now Mwenda has gone silent. We ask the likes of Mwenda, where are those videos, those recordings you were saturating around? They were hyping on them so much. He's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a criminal, he's a... So we are asking the judicial, this is the call. We are asking the judicial, shouldn't be used as a torture chamber. You can do better, Justice Owinyidoro. You can do much, much better. There is no line now between the general court martial and the civilian court martial. There is no clear demarcation now between the general court martial and the civilian court martial. There's no distinction. So, Justice Owinyidoro, you took oath to uphold the Constitution, to uphold the rule of law, to uphold the laws of this country. Why witness this kind of transgression and actually you abet it? So rise to the occasion. Let the judiciary stand its ground and say enough is enough to the extension of persecution within your realm. The judiciary is a temple of justice. Where should we run to? Justice Owinyidoro, where should we go to? What is it that Dr. Besigye requires to do which he has not done to get out of jail? What is it that we should do? We have filed all the applications, dismissed. These people said they have evidence and they can't produce it. So we are stuck. And Besigye is rotting away in jail. So we demand that the judiciary should rise to the occasion. Number 4, we are concerned about this cartel or cabal, this cabal of dictators in East Africa here. We are really concerned. There is collusion. Kidnaps are happening in Uganda, kidnaps are happening in Kenya, kidnaps are happening in Tanzania, and they are all acting in concert. There is collusion now. So the East African community right now is a forum that is used to torture us as citizens. And we have every reason to believe that when they sit in the East African community, now their discussion is about persecution of the citizens within the region. It's all about that. Ruto said the father of the region is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. How can Museveni be the father of the region, honestly speaking? When they should be actually ganging up against him. I don't know how old Ruto was when Museveni came to power. So, Ruto is persecuting the Kenyans. Right now, we have a fear to go to Kenya. The other day when our colleagues, Agatha, Twairu, and others attempted to get to Tanzania, they were subjected to dehumanization, as you all know. Martha Karua and others who crossed from Kenya, it was the same treatment. The Kenyans come here to participate in as brothers and sisters in our activities here. They are hounded, they are kept in a fridge and subsequently dumped at the border point. The violations are ongoing, unabated. Left, right, center. So we must decisively deal with this cartel of leaders, this cabal of East African leaders who are orchestrating this kind of heinous crimes against humanity. What they are doing, they are committing crimes against humanity. So for us as the party leaders here, we are in touch with the colleagues in Kenya, the Martha Karuas and the colleagues. We have the team in Tanzania of Tindi Rus and others, and a couple of others to do our effort. We ask all the colleagues to join us in this cause, so that as members of Jumuiya, we decisively deal with this blatant violation of our rights. And even the treaty we signed, the East African treaty, the East African Community Treaty, that treaty, it talks about common values. And respect to rule of law is one of the key values which bind us, which bind us together. So we are bound together by those values of rule of law, democracy, of respect to human rights and whatnot, not persecution. Now East African community is bound together by persecution, the issues of persecution, not those values. It is in the same vein as one of the last demands we are making. It is in the same vein that we are making a call to the ICC. You know, when genocide happened in Rwanda, the international community came out to pour out their hearts and emotions and regretted why they never intervened in time. Right now, there appears to be conspiracy everywhere internationally. ICC is supposed to move on its own volition under the Rome Statute of 1998. For the record, ICC is not just like any other ordinary court where you have to file petitions there. You can only help them to gather evidence, but it's a court of international record which is supposed to act on its own volition where there are crimes against humanity committed, like a genocide, like torture, abductions or kidnaps, enforced disappearances. Look at Article 5 of the Rome Statute. All these are crimes against humanity. So if we may ask, ICC, where are you when the entire region is being brutalized by this cartel? Where are you? This conspiracy of silence, they tried at one time against Ruto and others, but now they seem to have backed off. So ICC should put their act together and deal with this matter. Then, finally, we need to ask our colleagues within the various disciplines, the lawyers in particular, Uganda Law Society. When you look at the Uganda Law Society Act, that body, professional body, is a vanguard of rule of law and constitutionalism. Yes, we appreciate some of the interventions so far made. And we also recognize the fact that law society is also wallowing under a lot of problems now that our head, the head of the profession, the president, is also fugitive. He's in exile. Isaac Asemakad is in exile. But those of you around who are holding fort, please, this is a public interest matter. It's not a matter for us only members of PFF that we have to ask even our dear sister Martha Karua to come and others. The Law Society needs to join. You can come in. There is in law what we call amicus curiae. Amicus curiae is a friend of court. So where there are these transgressions, violations, the Law Society should come in at least as an amicus curiae, a friend of court, and join these matters. They fight alongside with the legal activists. So we ask Uganda Law Society, let's rise to the occasion, take the bull by the horn, and fight this kind of impunity. It's the role and the duty of Uganda Law Society to join us in this struggle for God and my country. Luganda ndoza mba we forward yoka.